Fantastic. Is that it?
Hey, howdy, hey, Whovians, Wolfman47 here, and welcome to the second Doctor Who vlog that celebrates the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. Now, for a while, I've been thinking of doing vlogs where I talk about various different what-if scenarios for different franchises, and because we're in the month that celebrates Doctor Who, I decided to do one on Doctor Who. It's had a lot of what-if scenarios, and what I wanted to talk about today is what would happen if the Ninth Doctor was in fact in the 50th special, The Day of the Doctor. Now, I know some of you will be wanting me to address the controversy around Christopher Eccleston leaving Doctor Who and the BBC, so I will address that now. So when the revival first started, it had Chris Ferguson play the Ninth Doctor, and it was decided that the show would continue on from where the classic series left off, rather than reboot and do its own thing. And Chris Ferguson was the chosen actor to play the Doctor for that series. The series was only ever intended for him to appear in one series, but I think he was given the option to appear in more, but ultimately turned them down for various reasons. One reason is that he didn't want to be too typecast or too famous. Another was because he just didn't like working with the people that were involved in particular Russell T Davies, which beforehand he did have a great deal of respect for, but not so much these days. And he didn't appear in the 50th special because he's not a fan of multi-Doctor stories, because he feels they are a cash-in. And if I'm being honest, I kind of see where he's coming from, because these multi-Doctor stories, although most are good and work out okay, they can be considered a cash-in because that's what the fans want. Some of us want to see different doctors interacting with one another, and sure, we do get that in episodes where it's not actually celebrating a milestone. It can just be them interacting together, like in one Children in Need special before the Christmas special, Voyage of the Damned, in which David Tennant's Doctor and Peter Davidson's Doctor had an interaction in a little mini episode. Interesting fact, David Tennant's actually married to Peter Davidson's daughter, Georgia Moffat, which after they met on the set of The Doctor's Daughter, which was one of the episodes from Series 4. So that's interesting. Anyway, enough about that. So there's been controversy about... there was controversy about Chris Ferguson coming back to Doctor Who. Obviously, they have to meet his demands. Like, some demands he had were they had to treat him with respect. BBC and Russell T Davies had to apologise for their actions, and it has to be a story with just him as the Doctor, no other incarnations of the Doctor in there. So, all that aside, let's talk about if he did decide to return to the show. I'm not sure if he would have been that great of an addition as in the show. I mean, they already had like 3 other incarnations of the Doctor already in there: Matt Smith, David Tennant, and John Hurt. And the rest appear in archive footage, with those 3 recording new scenes and dialogue for the special. So if Chris Ferguson was in there, I think one way it could work is if he gets caught up in the sort of Time War stuff, and then he appears trying to figure it all out as well, and just find out how it all ended, because that has been a big thing in the revival series. What is the Time War? Who was involved? What happened? And all that stuff. And then there's also the bit at the end where John Hurt regenerates into the Ninth Doctor, although it doesn't actually finish the regeneration. It does cut out after a little while. So he could have appeared in that as well, for us to see what he reacts to that. Of course, he does react to his incarnation in the very first episode of the revival, Rose. So there is that. So yeah, there's not really much to it, really. Chris Ferguson, wonderful actor, does a lot of great stuff in everything he does. And another reason why he probably couldn't do the 50th special was scheduling conflicts with the Marvel film Thor: The Dark World, which was released the same year, 2013. So yeah, another reason why he couldn't appear. He's not made any on-screen appearances since the very first series of the revival era of Doctor Who, but I know he's done a few Big Finish audio dramas, like pretty much every person that's played the Doctor has done. And he's also, and his incarnation has appeared in a few books and comic books. I know he was involved with the Time Lord Victorious event. Don't know if he was personally involved because of his stance on multi-doctor stories. Keep saying multi-stories for some reason. But I know his incarnation was involved in some way in that. So yeah, not really much else to say on that. He played the Doctor, did his best, and at the end of the day, he tried to do the best he can, but the way he was treated wasn't great. Unfortunately, you are going to get some controversy with people when they decide to leave suddenly, because sometimes you get so used to one person being this character or being part of a show or whatever, and then they decide to leave, and then you just want to know why they left. And then some people like to delve into the controversy around that and just find out the real reason why this person didn't appear or doesn't appear anymore. And he was just one person that left on bad terms. So whether he does return is another matter. I hope he does return at some point. But with him having these views and stances on the show, it's not going to be easy to have him back. I know they did get away with having the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, appear in a standalone episode where it was just him. So if there was like an episode featuring Christopher Eccleston and just Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, it could work, because he did say he would be open to returning if it's just a standalone episode with only him as the Doctor and no one else. But until the BBC and Russell T Davies apologised to him and just try and rebuild that relationship between the two, we're not going to get him back as the Doctor anytime soon. He would have been great in the 50th special for sure, as I said. Probably have a very minimal role compared to Matt Smith, John Hurt and David Tennant. And he did actually say himself that if he did return for the 50th special, it would mean John Hurt wouldn't be in the 50th special. And John Hurt is a wonderful actor. And he said to himself that John Hurt is a wonderful actor, and he did a really good job as the War Doctor in that. And I agree. So yeah, that's all I can say on that with Chris Vex and all that. He's a man of many opinions, I'm sure, just like anybody is, and that's all there is to it. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, comment below, and subscribe. Especially like to know what you think about Chris Vex not appearing in the 50th special, and whether he should return again at some point. So see you in the next one. Peace to you all. And you know, companies and head writers and producers just need to treat their actors and staff well, because you're gonna get people leaving like Chris Ferguson did in this way if you're just not treating them well. So just treat them well and just be nice to one another and just all that. Yeah, big ask, I know. But anyway, I hope that was a fantastic vlog. Yeah, his catchphrase in the show is fantastic. So yeah, his catchphrase is when he says fantastic, and it's not. I don't know if it is fantastic or not. Alright, that's enough for me. Bye bye.
Daleks do not take orders.